I literally took one sip of my beverage and the whole side of my face felt like I had a stroke.
One person who was always anti-Diddy and was always speaking about Diddy as a problematic person was 50 Cent. And it turns out that it's just been announced that he's created a docu-series on Netflix. I can't wait to see this. The other end of that, every person who has tried to speak out about this, who has tried to speak out about the industry, the type of people that are controlling the industry, the attacks that people face from the media if they try to speak out, is always the same. They're called crazy. And an example of one such individual who went through those sorts of attacks is,
I got on a plane at 5:30 a.m. Go to this party. I think half the people there were butt naked.
Would you be open to a plea bargain?
Well, it's not up to me. It's up to Mr. Combs, and I don't see it happening.
Why?
Because he believes he's innocent. He believes he's innocent. And what's more, he believes that he needs to stand up, not just for himself, for his family, and for everybody who's been targeted by the federal government.
Well, Bill and Sade, accepting a plea agreement would mean that Sean Combs would have to admit to trafficking and force. And today he made it very clear that was not going to happen. Diddy maintained all along these encounters involved consenting adults and plans to take his chances that a jury agrees.
Isn't that, to my mind, that's one of the bigger hurdles in selecting a jury this coming week, is that there is, at least anecdotally, when I talk to people, they have that opinion, strongly held opinion, that there's celebrity tapes, that they've kind of conflated Epstein, and you mentioned Ghislaine Maxwell and all of these things, into Diddy. There's this idea that somehow this is Epstein redux or something.
What made you come here to support Puff?
I'm supporting Puff because he's innocent, and I'm wholeheartedly believing his innocence, and I know he's innocent. So
you say you know he's innocent?
1,000%.
Mr. Combs feels he's innocent. I think he probably is the only person I know of who might be able to actually accomplish that.
She did, and when the judge did, Diddy, who was sitting at the defense table with his attorneys, did not show any signs of emotion. He took a sip of water before he was led out of the courtroom by the U.S. Marshals. Now, his lawyers have vowed to fight this. They are going to be back in court on Wednesday before the judge who will oversee this trial and try to get Diddy to be released.
Now, as far as jury selection goes, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that both sides expect to have all of this done in the matter of 3 days. Now, given just how high profile this trial is, I was kind of stunned that they seem very confident that they will be able to seat a jury in that amount of time.
What happens is if people go into a trial believing the firepower on the prosecution is so strong, I mean, let's say on a scale of 1 to 100, it's a 95, that it's so strong, but it goes down to an 88. That helps the defense because everybody goes in thinking, wow, they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and they're going to prove this, and all of a sudden, none of it's there. I think that actually helps the defense.
The last hearing before Sean Combs' trial starts, when he walked into federal court today, he appeared to be looking for his family. They've pretty much been at all of the hearings that I've been to, but there was no presence of his sons or his mother or his sister who had previously been at those hearings.
Do you still think that, because there is this public perception, that there are celebrity tapes involved in this case?
No.
Do you still think that there are minors involved in this case?
I'm certain no.
Okay.
And again, when you say this case, we're talking the criminal case.
The criminal case.
In the
correct.
criminal,
I know that.
In the criminal case.
The,
in the criminal case,
right.
No.
Back up a little bit, please.
How can you support your father? How do you support him moving forward?
At trial, Combs will ditch the jail garb and wear ordinary clothes, as his lawyers argue the evidence shows consenting adults being intimate in their own way.
We have the latest from federal court in the Sean Combs criminal case. Status of jury selection, what Diddy's going to be wearing, violation of a gag order, rejecting a plea offer.
Diddy's lawyers had argued that he had made good faith efforts by showing up in New York, ready to surrender to face these charges. But prosecutors said that he could not be trusted, that he has a history of trying to intimidate witnesses, including some who are going to be witnesses in this case. They urge the judge to remand him.
He knows the deck is stacked against him. They've got a ton of evidence. Take the plea deal, dude. Just take it.
Well, my guess is that, because we don't know the deal of the plea deal. At least I don't think we do.
True.
Okay.
The decision guarantees Combs will face trial beginning just 4 days from now that will test whether one of music's most prolific figures used his power, wealth, and fame to exploit both women and men for decades.
Elaborate, sometimes days-long parties by coercing victims through drugs, threats, and manipulation. They claim to have video evidence, and some of the accusations echo details from over 70 civil lawsuits filed against Combs over the last 30 years.
Major developments tonight involving the case against Sean Diddy Combs, what he decided in court today, and what this now means, the move coming just 4 days before his trial is set to begin. Here's Aaron Katursky.
Tonight, Sean Combs makes it official. He's rejecting the government's offer to plead guilty and spare himself the possibility of a prolonged term in prison. When asked if he turned down the offer, Combs answered, "Yes, I do, Your Honor," as he stood in a baggy beige jail uniform. Terms were not disclosed, but prosecutors did say a plea could result in a shorter sentence for Combs than if he's convicted.
Federal trafficking, racketeering, and charges beginning Monday morning.
Music mogul Sean Diddy Combs back behind bars, a magistrate judge denying him bail, saying that there were no conditions that she could conceive of that would make her confident that he would appear again for other court appearances. The judge saying, "My concern is this is a crime that happens behind closed doors."
This is going to be such a massive trial, like maybe the biggest Hollywood trial. God knows which way it's going to go. Is it going to go on for weeks?
For sure, weeks.
The hush inside Manhattan's federal courthouse broke the instant Sean Diddy Combs uttered 3 words. "Yes, I do," rejecting a plea bargain that might have clipped decades off his destiny. In that breath, the man who once flung platinum albums at the world chose the razor's edge of a racketeering trial. Cameras perched on tripods outside the stone facade caught only his beige jail fatigues, a fleeting, half-swallowed sip of water, and the ironclad stare of someone betting an empire on reasonable doubt. Viewers might assume this is just another celebrity fall from grace. Prosecutors insist it's the unveiling of a shadow syndicate run under the velvet veil of hip-hop glamour. What separates hype from hard evidence is a thumb drive, a ledger, and witnesses who claim the backstage magic was laced with something far darker. But how did the architect of Bad Boys Rise end up here, pleading innocence against whispers of freak-offs, encrypted chats, and camera blackouts? Hold tight. The timeline doesn't just twist, it detonates. Pressure built months before the plea drama, on the kind of summer morning that makes New York's skyscrapers shimmer like chrome pillars. Court clerks shuffled armfuls of prospective juror questionnaires through metal detectors as talking heads predicted a spectacle bigger than Depp v. Heard. Inside, the prosecution laid out what they call a 3-decade pattern: Combs, wealth, and weaponized access. Civil lawsuits had multiplied like after-storm mushrooms. First a trickle from lesser-known backup dancers, then an avalanche featuring Cassandra Cassie Ventura, whose settlement whispers became front-page ink. Still, settlements are math, not proof. Prosecutors needed narrative. Enter Victim 2, Victim 3, and Victim 4, cloaked by court order, but alleged to share a common refrain. Private jets to private parties, phones surrendered at doorways, then foggy memories spliced with fear. Defense counsel punched back in press scrums, describing Combs as a target painted by fame, wealth, and envy. Their pitch: consenting adults living large, cherry-picked out of context by an overzealous government. Yet the scene outside the courthouse suggested cultural tectonics grinding in real time. Social feeds spun side-by-side photos. Combs in a shiny suit on the Mo Money Mo Problems video set versus Combs flanked by U.S. Marshals. Every meme carried a caption, "How did we get from there to here so fast?" The short answer: rumors never slept, and when they caught the scent of pattern, they sprinted. Long before a single indictment was drafted, whispers circulated at industry dinners where bottle service smoke curled above leather booths. The phrase "freak off" floated like a coded invitation. small gatherings inside sprawling estates where guest lists blurred with payroll rosters. Staffers who signed NDAs described linen turnovers at ungodly hours, camera feeds that conveniently blinked black, and charter jet manifests coded with cartoon nicknames. On gossip blogs, screenshots surfaced of encrypted group chats instructing aides to reset VIP wing or refresh guest care. For the uninitiated, the directives seemed like nothing more than housekeeping. Prosecutors argue they were choreography for coercion. Every attempt to speak out had its price. Rapper 50 Cent, no stranger to industry feuds, called Combs a ticking time bomb years ago. Back then, mainstream outlets wrote it off as rivalry fodder. Today, Fifth's take looks eerily prophetic, and Netflix wasted no time greenlighting his docuseries, ensuring the public eye remains glued to the trial like a binge-worthy cliffhanger. Still, for every loud critic, there were 10 silenced voices. The pattern felt predictable. Someone hinted at hidden debauchery, tabloids mocked them as unhinged, and the machine rolled on. Only after federal agents executed search warrants did those dismissed as crazy find sudden verification in file header timestamps and vacuum-sealed ledgers. While social media argued over rumor versus reality, prosecutors secured something more tangible. Roger Bonds, the career bodyguard whose life's work was mastering invisibility. Decades spent 5 paces behind Combs had taught him which corridor cameras swiveled and which ones mysteriously never worked. Facing gun possession charges that could stack his future behind bars, Bonds weighed loyalty against freedom and chose a flash drive containing what he labeled payroll night. To outsiders, it seemed dull. Spreadsheets, staff initials, dusty door sensor logs. To veteran investigators, it was a Rosetta Stone. Each GC start lined up with camera outage reports, every VIP escort clear, paired with linen laundry spikes and midnight envelope cash drops. Defense lawyers branded Bonds a disgruntled ex-employee angling for leniency. Yet even skeptics admit the drive's metadata doesn't hurl opinions, it stamps times. 53 guest wing resets stretch across 9 properties in 3 states, all clustering between 1 a.m. and 4 o'clock a.m., windows when phone bags were collected, and in-house Wi-Fi routers logged sudden device migrations from party floors to private hallways. Jurors will soon weigh whether those migrations spell garden-variety celebrity privacy or a systemic dance of concealment. It's impossible to separate the thumb drive from the indictment's backbone. Prosecutors argue Combs engineered a culture where entourage loyalty blurred with complicity. The official charges, racketeering, trafficking, bribery, obstruction, and exploitation, read like every vice rolled into a single dice cup. Maximum penalty? Life. But lawyers rarely prosecute vibes. They prosecute patterns. Among their most potent exhibits, a 2016 hotel hallway clip showing Combs shoving Cassie against a marble wall, her head snapping back like a rag doll. Cassie's civil suit settled, but the video, leaked years later, hangs over the defense table like ghostly replay. Add in encrypted chats referencing after-hour enhancements, plus ATM pull records matching linen laundry orders marked expedite, and the narrative thickens faster than nightclub fog juice. Defense counsel says context is king, that any after-party for megastars involves NDAs, security sweeps, and yes, occasional camera timeouts to protect patented stage tech or unreleased music. They frame claims of manipulation as regrets repackaged for profit and magnified by a government eager for a trophy conviction. The jury's challenge is simple in theory, brutal in practice. Decide whether these Nightwing rhythms demonstrate criminal orchestration or just decadent chaos. As the courthouse sessions drag toward dusk each day, the story metastasizes across screens. TikTok sleuths draw red string diagrams linking Combs to everything from Biggie's 1997 murder to Epstein's private island. Never mind that evidence for such leaps ranges from flimsy to fantastical. Simultaneously, legit outlets quote entertainment law veterans, predicting a hashtag MeToo-styled reckoning for hip-hop. Sponsors freeze campaigns, streaming playlists temporarily lower rotation, and event insurers jack premiums on any mansion party lacking 24/7's third-party audits. Whatever the verdict, the aftershocks already ripple. In the end, the prosecution's opening strategy is math before memoir. Digital artifacts on screens, then humans to animate the timestamps. Bonds will testify first, decoding cell rows for jurors who may have never managed an estate, but know an Excel sheet when they see one. defense will hammer opportunist at every turn, pressing Bonds on a decade-old promotion he supposedly missed. Yet every cross jab lands against the soft glow of date-time stamps that don't flinch. If conviction comes, sentencing guidelines point to a minimum 15 years and a realistic corridor of 25 to life. Should Combs walk, the government's rare defeat will echo louder than any acquittal since R. Kelly's 2008 childography trial. Either way, music's backstage code of silence has already split open. Private security firms tout transparency audits like they're the new velvet rope, labels rewrite hospitality riders, and somewhere inside a locked evidence vault, a thumb drive waits for its cameo, the tiny silver hinge on which a titan's future may swing. The courtroom lights dim only in memory by nightfall, but the counter-narrative keeps buzzing like a neon bar sign. Combs' legal team hasn't just mounted a defense, they've staged a full-scale mythology rescue mission, banking on jurors' deep-seated skepticism of federal overreach, the opening salvo, consent, hammered like a drumbeat. Every salacious detail, they argue, sprang from private rendezvous among adults who knew precisely what they signed up for. Lawyers flash glossy stills of celebrity after parties where superstar guests grin in backless dresses and champagne arcs like fountains. In another life, those images sold magazines. Now they stand as exhibits A through Z of glamorous consent. The pitch is clever. If the visuals look decadent but not dangerous, maybe the unseen moments were equally voluntary. Then comes the second plank, targeting. A black entrepreneur worth hundreds of millions, raising overtly political statements about systemic bias, becomes, so the argument goes, an irresistible conquest for prosecutors eyeing headlines. The lawyers bank on a deep ancestral mistrust some jurors carry toward institutions. They cite the Central Park Five, crack-era sentencing, and recent exonerations of men who gave their youth to flimsy cases. We've seen this film, they coax. Different soundtrack, same prejudged script. For a split second, the gallery hushes. History suddenly feels like a co-defendant. Still, even the sharpest rhetoric cannot vanish digital footprints, so the defense needs technical skepticism. They parade a forensics professor who once cracked a Bitcoin laundering ring to nitpick the FBI's methodology. He concedes the timestamps align, but warns of network jitter, clock skew, and metadata drift. To lay ears, those terms sound plausible, like cosmic static that might scramble meaning. The prosecution objects, the judge allows limited testimony, and the jury scribbles. Whether those scribbles evolve into doubt is anyone's guess, but the seed is planted. While dueling narratives square off under fluorescent bulbs, the wider world binge-watches every development. By week 2, 50 Cent's trailers drop, slow-motion aerials of Combs' mansions, voiceovers about industry secrets finally unsealed. Netflix's algorithm pushes the preview into trending now, and reaction videos sprout like dandelions. Some fans celebrate accountability, others call it character assassination fueled by a longtime rival. The irony isn't lost on culture critics. Hip-hop once thrived on beef tracks. Now the feud itself is a distribution channel selling a new era of true crime infotainment. Yet the docuseries is just one flame in a bonfire. Podcast hosts who built careers unpacking rap lore release emergency episodes titled Diddy's Downfall, What You Haven't Heard, and Inside the Freak-Off Economy. Former session musicians volunteer anecdotes, some banal, some unsettling. Each morsel spurs another TikTok stitch, and soon the internet forms a mosaic of rumor, fact, half-truth, and fan fiction. YouTube demonetizes several channels for reposting graphic courtroom exhibits. Creators pivot by overlaying commentary atop blurred screenshots. Voice pitch shifted just enough to dodge automated filters. Meanwhile, corporate boardrooms hold crisis calls at dawn. One beverage conglomerate suspends its premium vodka partnership with Combs' pending trial. Streaming platforms quietly demote bad boy classics from flagship playlists. Algorithmic neutrality, they claim, though industry watchers whisper about ad buyer anxiety. Fashion houses comb photographs to ensure no archived promotional shots accidentally cycle into new campaigns. Even insurance underwriters tweak policy language for A-list clients. Any closed-door event with more than 40 guests now requires a certified third-party auditor on premises. Each ripple underscores a broader shift. The entertainment machine once built to shield stars now recalibrates to preempt reputational implosion. Transparency was a buzzword in tech. Suddenly it's contract law in music. collateral damage rarely registers on luxury dashboards until profit margins blink red. At Revolt TV, the network Combs co-founded, an emergency board vote installs interim leadership and grants them latitude to reevaluate strategic direction. Translation: distance the brand or risk contagion. The flagship conference on Black entrepreneurship, historically sponsored by Revolt, loses multiple corporate donors within 48 hours. Panels on creative freedom morph into roundtables on crisis management. Labels that once vied for Combs' endorsement adopt a wait-and-see posture, and whisper campaigns begin. Which other executives kept similar ledgers? Which mansions maintain suspicious linen budgets? HR departments draft anonymous hotlines. Legal counsels review NDAs for clauses that might appear coercive in hindsight. A mid-level manager at a rival imprint tweets, "The dam broke, flood insurance doesn't cover silence." The post racks up 50,000 likes before disappearing, either self-deleted or yanked by corporate mandate. Fans aren't immune to ideological whiplash. Some vow to separate art from artist, blaring "I'll be missing you" on loop, framing it as nostalgia armor. Others delete whole playlists, arguing every stream sends micro pennies into a defense fund war chest. Social feeds become battlegrounds where moral absolutism meets cynical pragmatism. If we canceled every artist with skeletons, would silence be the new Spotify? Back in court, the schedule grinds on. Week 4 opens with the prosecution's star tech witness, a bespectacled data analyst whose Excel pivot tables appear on screens like constellations of guilt. She walks the jury through pattern clustering, cash withdrawals, guest wing locks, camera outages, and linen orders. Each data point a pin pushed into a timeline until the board looks less like coincidence and more like choreography. Defense swings next with a hospitality logistics expert who's managed elite events from Cannes to Qatar. He testifies that sudden linen spikes aren't red flags, but best practice when high-net-worth guests demand spotless quarters. On cross-examination, prosecutors produce invoices showing disinfectant shipments labeled expedite, logged after, not before, camera outages. The expert stutters over the timeline, noting it could be restocking, but the chill in the gallery is palpable. The neat story just sprung a leak. Then comes the dramatic pivot. An anonymous former house manager testifies via closed-circuit camera. Her silhouette flickers in monochrome as she describes nights when phone pouches filled locked bins and a foot switch killed foyer cameras with a silent blink. She recalls fragrance diffusers pushing lavender to mask chemical odors. Defense counters with salary records showing she accepted triple holiday pay, implying motive for embellishment. Yet her calm voice cuts through cross-examination. She ends on a line screenwriters would. By week 6, the judicial marathon feels like culture's main event. Bookings for courtroom gallery seats resell on gray market apps. Commentators compare the frenzy to the OJ trial, but note a difference. Back then, cable networks controlled the lens. Today, anyone with a smartphone is a broadcaster. The prosecution nears resting its case, but not before teasing sealed financial ledgers rumored to spell out hush money pipelines. Defense threatens immediate appeal if those ledgers enter evidence, citing privilege over proprietary business data. The judge calls a closed chambers conference. Reporters sprint toward partial transcripts that leak within hours. Threads light up. Is this the smoking gun or just another smokescreen? Finally comes jury instructions, dense, meticulous, and loaded with caveats about metadata, cooperating witnesses, and the definition of coercion under federal racketeering statutes. 12 citizens will soon decide whether Combs masterminded a criminal enterprise or merely threw parties too extravagant for polite society. But outside the courtroom walls, the verdict may already feel secondary. A security consulting firm lands a multi-million-dollar contract to implement real-time audit trails at luxury retreats. A major music festival investor syndicate demands background check certifications for backstage managers. Hollywood gossip circles whisper about an upcoming expose on other after-hour emperors. The moral isn't that Combs is singularly monstrous, it's that one unlocked thumb drive rewrote the cost-benefit analysis of secrecy throughout the entertainment world. Whether the jury levels a conviction or scribbles "not guilty," the thumb drive epoch has begun. Privacy once sold as a perk now resembles liability. Bodyguards clutching NDAs may rethink career moves. What was loyalty yesterday could be perjury tomorrow. Artists who built brands on bravado confront an ironic twist. The bigger the banger, the brighter the forensic spotlight. If Combs walks, he exits into a landscape forever altered by the allegations themselves. Sponsors skeptical, insurers watchful, fans divided. Rehabilitation might be possible, but the old blueprint, an apology tour followed by a comeback single, won't cut it. Industry eyes crave granular transparency now. Who's on payroll? Where do phones go? Why do cameras blink? If he falls, the conviction will reverberate through contracts, employment handbooks, and creative budgets. Legislation may sprout, insurance premiums will spike, and every whisper of a reset or guest care will tick audit alarms. Either way, the needle has moved. What began as gossip swirling from mansion patios now sits etched in court transcripts and corporate white papers. And all because a bodyguard decided that a thumb drive was lighter than a conscience and heavier than an empire. Fade the gavel's echo, cue the questions nobody can yet answer, and hold the camera on a silent courthouse door. Titles roll, but history, unlike NDAs, never fully seals shut.